prodigal viewer has returned. Boy, did you get here just in time for another Calvin tale. Let's see what happens. Calvin waited in the outdoor pen for a few hours before the next shift began at the agency. New drop-offs were only processed at the beginning of each shift. He was very excited about the prospect of a real bed. Maybe even a new girlfriend. As if he hadn't had enough of those in his recent adventures. Mostly, he was excited about how soon he might see his parents and friends again. They would be very relieved to see him again, no doubt. When turnover finally came for him, they came out in scrubs, masks, and gloves. Very clinical. Calvin felt a little nervous. "This one looks like he might need the hose," said one of them. "God knows where he's been. We'll definitely need to delouse him before his assessment. It looks like he's been rolling around in birds." Calvin peered down at himself and saw he was covered in little feathers. Memories of Muriel. Before he knew it, Calvin was stripped naked and thrown into a barrel of delousing powder. The agents fit the lid onto the cask and shook it back and forth between them, like a pan full of popcorn kernels. Calvin's complaints were muffled by the drunken oak of the retired whiskey drum. Then, they did give him the hose. It wasn't as intense as the pumice scrubbing Calvin had received in the Alapesh Kingdom, even if he did end up 2 or 3 layers of skin lighter. By weight, at least. Once dry, another agent brought him some fresh clothes. "These will be a little baggy. We had to burn your old clothes, unfortunately. The smell was solid. I mean that literally. I think it might have broken my nose. It would have taken at least 500 years to wash that out." "Oh," said Calvin, taking the new clothes and putting them on. "Even my underwear?" The agent shuddered, feeling herself for a newly deviated septum. "Especially your underwear." She let Calvin finish dressing before directing him to the next stage. Assessment. Following a quick medical exam, Calvin was led into a room with a written test waiting on a table. It was multiple choice. Calvin loved multiple choice tests. Some people see right and wrong, he thought. I see a big world of opportunities. He filled out the form with a brilliant fatality. 30 pages later, he handed it over to be scanned. Then he sat back, waiting. 2 hours later, the agent came back holding the test results, looking puzzled. "Well, Mr. Calvin, there are a few things to mention about your tests. For one thing, it looks like you had brainworms." "Brainworms?" "Yes, a fatal parasite common to deer and sometimes snails. It looks like they'd started to breed, but then all died simultaneously of some kind of hemorrhaging. I've never seen anything like it. You're a lucky young man, Calvin." "Gosh! Yes, I'm grateful for every wonderful day I get to be alive. So what about my other test?" He looked at her hopefully. "Yes, these tests are usually just meant to sort boyfriends out by type, to be better matched to hopeful adoptees." "I can't wait," Calvin grinned. "I know someone wonderful will want me. Someone with warm hands, soft eyes. Someone who remembers my name every day." Yes, well," she cleared her throat. "You're a bit of an anomaly. Your test broke our computer." Calvin swelled up. "I knew it! I am special!" "The thing is, we have to shut down intake until we can fix it. And we can't place you with the regular gradings of bachelor. You failed the smell test as well." "I didn't even know I was being tested on smell. What do I smell like?" "Shame." "Well, there's only one thing we can do with you, unfortunately. The terminal pen." "That's for a special grade of bachelor?" "Yes, Calvin, a very special grade. But don't worry, you won't need to stay very long." She smiled warmly behind her medical mask. A wistful smile. This was the right thing to do, even though there was something about him that made her tingle. Probably just deja vu. She led him away to a room with a chain-link segregation. There were 3 other men waiting around in different compartments. At least the bed was a real bed with a pillow. That was nice. Calvin settled in. It might not be a long stay, but it was going to be a lovely stay, and he had friends to make here. One of them raised his head to speak. "Hey, brah," said the fellow who was in the cell next to him. The other 2 mumbled and waved through the chain-link walls of their own cells. "Hey, guys," Calvin said with enthusiasm. "Isn't this a nice way to meet people? I'm Calvin." "Derek," said the one who greeted him first. "Yo, I'm Curb." He ran a big hand through his hair. Curb had great hair, and what looked to be the outline of nipple piercings under his white tank top. "My name's Josh." A very casual voice. Even-toned and unimpressed in general. But maybe this is not the nice way to meet people you think it is. He hissed the last part. "What's not nice about it, Josh? There are beds here. They gave me clothes. And you guys!" Josh snorted. "Don't get comfortable. You won't be here long." "None of us will." "Well, that's what she said," Calvin replied, looking at his feet. Curb laughed and moved to high-five someone, then remembered he was separated from everyone else by chain-link walls. He sat back down and sighed, sullenly air-guitaring a slow minor chord. Josh rubbed his face with one hand impatiently. "Do you know why they call this the terminal pen, Calvin?" "Because it's like a bus terminal where we'll soon head out for our forever homes," Calvin said hopefully. Josh shook his head. "This is the end of the road, brah. Third strike, you're out." Derek pulled a finger across his neck. "Man, I could use some ganj." Calvin gulped. He didn't want to accept this new turn. "We're gonna be killed? No!" He fell on himself, holding his legs and crying. The others in the room looked uncomfortable at Calvin's show of emotion. He noticed them staring and pulled himself together as best he could. He wiped his nose on his arm, still curled up in a ball. He tried to think. He thought back on his recent hardships. He'd nearly died several times already, but had managed to survive. He could survive this too. "Guys, we're going to get out of here," he announced, determined. "Tell us, genius. Tell us how," Josh waved his arms. "Oh, I don't know yet," he whined. The wall groaned behind him. Eureka! He could irritate the walls like he had back in the tower prison cell that the Albinks had thrown him into. "Yes! This is how we'll get out!" Now he really had their attention. Curb even gently put down his air guitar to listen more closely. Calvin whined to the lock on his cell cage door. It quivered for a moment, then expired, like a depressed clam clicking open. He opened his cage up, then closed it again, afraid. He sat back down. There were footsteps down the hall, and voices. "Brah, you're another wizard? This shit is crazy! Nice!" The cellmates looked over, confused. A case specialist was leading a young lady into the room. "And here we are, Miss Strickland. I'll need to have an agent come and assist you to test the penises." "Wait, hold on one moment, please," Sadie said, looking around. "There are 4. I only looked at 3 files." The caseworker looked at Calvin, embarrassed. She laughed a little laugh. "Oh, that's because we just processed him. We didn't have the paperwork to show you." Sadie grasped the worker's wrist. "That's okay. I've got such a good feeling about this one. What's his name?" "I'm Calvin," Calvin said with a new flutter of hope. "I'll take him," she announced to the caseworker. Her voice was certain, absolute. "Let's go process this paperwork. I have so much to do to get my place ready." They left without another word. Calvin fell to his knees from the bed, an ecstasy of relief. Josh slapped the chain wall, shaking it violently. Hey, genius, what are you waiting for? Let us out. Calvin hummed and hawed. Should he risk rejection and save the guys? Or should he think hopeful thoughts that they'd also be picked up before it was too late? Bruh, toned Derek. If I get put down, 'cause you didn't let me out, I'll haunt you. I know that magic shit exists. I saw it yesterday. There's a wizard and a whale chick wizard. Yeah, if I die, I'll make sure nowhere you live is good. Everywhere you live will totally suck. Curb nodded in agreement. I second that, yo. You know what I'll do? I'll make sure no sweet lovin' ever sticks to you. My spirit will, cock-block you for as long as you live. Josh's fingers were white-knuckled against the chain links, staring at Calvin. You know what I'll do, Calvin? If I die, you can be sure that the ghost of me will see to it that all your efforts fail. All your efforts. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong. I guarantee it, Calvin. And you'll feel like you're reliving the same nightmare for the rest of eternity. Calvin, scared of the men, huddled away from them in his cell until he was retrieved. The agents were surprised that his lock was broken, but shrugged it off. He looked back twice at the 3 men he was abandoning. They stared blankly at him, as if their souls had already left their bodies to fulfill the oaths they'd just made. He gulped, but he was excited to be out. Sadie helped him into her car. She smiled happily and kissed his cheek. I can't take you home right away. I have to get my place a little more set up. I wasn't expecting to bring you home today, Sadie said. So, do you have a place I can drop you off for now? Calvin thought. Well, I have a basement apartment in a Rosedale house, but I've been away so long that it's probably been locked up by the sheriff by now. 4 York Road. Okay. And if you're locked out, is there somewhere else? Well, I guess you could take me to my parents' house. Okay, where's that? 4 York Road. Sadie's eyebrows raised. Her fingers drummed the wheel. Off they went. The prodigal son was returned home. His father's eyes lifted over his newspaper to peer at his son coming through the door. Oh, there you are, son. Another voice called from the other room. Who is it, Stanford? It's our son. He came back from his damn drug gallivant. I wasn't doing drugs, Dad. I was swallowed by a large animal. Right. Well, anyway, tell me, now that you're back, are you finally a man? Find out next time.